Hey Sterile Processing Universe, it's Hank Balch here with another episode of Fighting Dirty. And on this episode, we're going to talk about huddles. Daily huddles in your sterile processing department. And I want to challenge you and maybe talk about some of the challenges that confront you on a daily basis in trying to have consistent huddles. So let's just start off. Why have a huddle? You may be thinking to yourself, I write it on the board. What else do people need to know, right? What is there to communicate in a huddle that can't be written on the board? Well, the first obvious answer is you can't ask the board a question. If you have folks coming in on a different shift and they see one of your notes and perhaps they can't quite read your handwriting, or they just have a honest follow-up question. What do they mean by room 12 at 3 o'clock? Is that a turnover? Is that an add-on? Who knows? Because it's just written on the board and we didn't have a huddle to have a conversation about it. So, what is a huddle? It is a conversation. It's a two-way conversation. Many folks run into the challenge, and this is one of the initial challenges of huddles, of only thinking that a huddle is talking at people. All right, so it's first shift, talking at second shift, and then when the first shift gets done talking, they leave, and then second shift starts the day. Well, that's not a huddle. That's not a huddle. That's an audio book that just happens to be coming out of one person. A huddle is an opportunity for the two shifts crossing over to have a conversation about the highlights of the shift-to-shift handoff and workflow in the department. What happened on day shift? Any surprises? Any challenges? Anything that's ongoing that needs to be handed off to second shift for a successful evening? Is there anything that needs to be handed off through second shift to third shift for a successful night? Is there anything that happened the previous day on second shift that second shift needs to communicate to first shift? All of those kinds of inter-shift conversations should happen and can happen during a daily shift huddle. So it is very important to have an open communication between all sides. Now, for those of y'all in departments, and I know there's a lot of y'all out there, so I know this is a true reality for many of you watching this video, you may be thinking, our huddles, Hank, are a crap show. You do not want to give the two shifts an opportunity to talk to each other because it's not going to end well. I have been in those huddles. I have led those huddles. I've been a technician in those huddles, and I've seen it be a complete waste of time, and everyone is frustrated, and it's just an arguing match. So I understand the hesitancy when folks start talking about doing huddles to have that every day. Who wants to watch that or hear that every day? Just big argument and a blame fest. That is not a well-run huddle. So let's just get that out in the open. If that's happening today, you're not having a huddle. You're having an episode of the Jerry Springer show. Okay? That is not a huddle. I would encourage your leader, if it's your supervisor, your lead tech, your manager, who is a part of that dysfunctional huddle today, to stop the line, to cut it off and say, this is not the time to argue. This is not the time to blame. This is the time to communicate clearly to each other what needs to be done, what hasn't been done, what needs to be communicated to future shifts to keep the workflow going for the day. That's the update. Are there any new policies? Are there any new instrumentations that need to be communicated? Is there anything that needs to be in service? That's what happens during the daily huddles, not an all-out fist fight or verbal fist fight for people that are not happy with each other. If that's happening, your leader needs to stop it in its track, get the huddle back on track. But the worst thing that you can do is say, hey, because we cannot have productive huddles, we're not going to have huddles at all. So then no one knows what's going on. No one has the opportunity to communicate to each other. And all that division and stress that you've already been seeing just continues to multiply because now it has no outlet whatsoever to be decreased and fixed during the daily life of the department. Now, how do you ensure that these huddles happen in a standard fashion. So this is the last thing that I'm going to say on this video, and we'll cover this topic some more in some future videos. But I am a huge fan of shift reports or huddle handoff notes. This can be a standard form that the department gets together and says, what are the 5 things or the 10 things that we have to know every huddle to ensure that the next shift goes well? How many cases are going? How many case cards are in decontamination? Is there any equipment down? Are there any turnovers? Get a standard list of all those things that everybody wants to know and put that on a piece of paper that every shift completes and every shift has during the shift huddle, so that the other shifts can ask questions about it and clarify, just in case there is any confusion on the shift huddle report. But then you can take that report and file it away or scan it into a computer, and you have a record just in case anything happens down the line in the operating room or on a future shift where someone has a question about what happened on the first shift yesterday or what happened over the weekend. That shift report gives you a standard format for huddles and a record of what happened from shift to shift. So that is the encouragement for huddles. I know that I probably didn't convince everyone in this video, but I hope I gave you just a couple of things to chew on. And if you're a member of one of those dysfunctional Jerry Springer huddles, I encourage you again to get your leader to watch this video. Stop that argumentation in its track and get your huddles back where they need to be, communicating, conversating between shifts to keep the patient front and center in your sterile processing mission. Until next time, guys, keep fighting dirty, and I'll see you again soon.